What is going on? This is Mortar Mike, and you're watching a Watcher of Realms video. I'm actually streaming this inside of our Discord, the Sin Cluster, and my favorite part of the content that just came out is finally here. The Immortal Codex, the hard mode stuff, the stuff that people really want to get into. I was actually editing a video that I'm going to be putting out from the content that I did yesterday on the easy stuff. It's still fun, still good stuff to watch, but the hard stuff is what everybody really wants. So I've been looking forward to this because I have some comp ideas that I think would be really dope for these three challenges. The first one we got today is the Conqueror. The other one's going to come out in the next 4 to 9 days. I believe that the Zealous one, the Styx one, is the hardest one, or going to be the hardest one, because you really have to have champions with amazing attack speed. What I've learned from people that have played it on the Forerunner server, which means it's been a lot longer for some of them, is that the shield requirements skyrockets after like the first, second, third shields. And it's got to the point where some of them was like, look, after you bust that first shield, get as much of your damage in, and that's your score. That's bananas. So that being said, I'm glad that we have today's content, which is the Conqueror. I have not even clicked this yet. I have not even entered it yet. So I want to give this one a go. Now, common stages are one-time challenges. By completing common stages, you can attain. Okay, so the common stages, I'm just going to play through them. If it's really nothing interesting, I might take them out. But if I give you some good tips along the way, I'll put them in there. What artifacts are going to be amazing for this? I mean, it's the simple stuff. I'm literally not even touching my phone right now. So if I get murdered, you know why. But the artifacts that you want to get. So I think there's one called Wailing Soul. That's the one that gives you the little ad that pops out and does additional damage for you, which is good. I think it's Wailing Soul. I'll double check. It would be good for this. The problem is it does not block for you. So it does say it makes a copy of your stuff with 80% of its stats. That does not include block. So it does not stop things from coming to you. I think the S tier stuff, especially for your champions that have range or AoE. That was weird to see how that sounds. That have range or AoE is going to be the one that heals as you do damage, or Flawless Blade, which I think now is Frigid Flame. Those would be great. All right, let's run it again. Next one. Those would be great because then you can start having your champions last longer, because when they start dying, it gets exponentially harder. And you know, don't want your champs dying, right? Who does? Honestly, this comp right here is probably enough to beat this, but gotta be fancy about it. And this is gonna actually be my very first time putting Azor into content, so I've seen some pretty good stuff. It's the easy mode, so it shouldn't be too tough, right? We got gonna came over here. Ooh, dev questions just came in too. We'll have to check those out. But yeah, straightforward content. It's not as difficult for the easy stuff. Well, yeah, I think the artifacts are going to play a huge part in this content. So if you've been farming artifact material raid, your results are probably going to be much different than somebody who hasn't really beefed up their artifact group. If you have champs like Valkyra, I forgot the other champ's name that has the giant spinning blades. She's probably S tier for this because she does AoE damage. She has an incredible range. And I think since she's Nightmare and Northerners, right? How's that work? But since she's Nightmare, she can work well with somebody like Wrath, if I'm not mistaken. You know, they can get their attack speed up, which is going to be lovely for this. You also have those in the Cultist faction, which would be kind of cool, but I think Chaos is also going to do great here. So if you've noticed, somebody that I haven't been using is Cerberus. I think Cerberus is going to be wonderful for this. But Cerberus works like a nuke. Cerberus works like a grenade. and that he's not going to be out there for very long. His damage is going to be amazing, but it's going to be for a small window. So that's why I have a champ like Volker in here, because if I want to use him again, I want to have the ability to pull him back out and use him at a time. But his cooldown goes higher and higher. It starts to skyrocket. And it's really hard and really expensive and time sensitive to get him in there. So, all right, now we're at the actual, okay, decorate the screen, okay, and Valkyrie's here to give me more information. Defeating the boss, boom, boom, boom. Boss rush, that's where you get your points based on how well you live, basically. Yeah, that part. Yeah, definitely gonna be a leaderboard, because you want people to know you're good at the game. All right, substitutions. We're getting rid of him. He's great, but I can't keep him alive very well. So, swapping him out with a champion I really can't keep alive very well, but the AoE damage that this champion does, Cerberus does, is wonderful for this game mode. Why do I say that? Because the majority of the enemies that you're fighting are more vulnerable to magic damage champions. So if you have physical damage champions, they get a little bit less of a benefit fighting here. If I had a champion like a Valkyra, she would be perfect for something like this, just because she has really good AoE damage. Like I said, the chick with the spinning blades would be really amazing for this because she has good AoE damage and good reach. Another champion that I'm going to build and try later today, just to see if she can get some benefit out of this, is, where is she? She's, oh, you know what? Use this feature sometimes too. Is right here. Yes, the rarest, as far as I know, the rarest epic champion to pull. I got her. I think did I awaken her? Yes, awakened her a little bit too. But mainly because, I mean, that's not amazing to one enemy, no. As reduction, that's kind of limited, so I'm not seeing amazing stuff from that. Ooh, that's a pretty high cooldown. But that AoE damage is nice, but for 20 seconds, who knows? We'll see. For right now, I'm going to stick with the group that I have. And let's see what we get. Let's see how far we can take this. This is not an AoE strong team, by the way. I mean, I'm using Kineza. She is not an AoE style champion. And my wrath is not insane. Oh, but he respawns often. So he's going to be really good for this. And I have Volker. So the good thing about that is Cerberus and Azar, I mean, this guy, Aatrox, are both going to regenerate very often. They're going to come back a lot more often because at 25% cooldown to restarts, to recalls. So let's try it. Let's see what we get here. Let's see if I'm great at it or trash. Okay, walking up on us. Okay, he's got beef, and I'm your local waiter today. Let's work. Okay, gear rate 1 style right there. Put him out there. Making this one a real. She's just going to be hitting anything that needs to be hit. But here's what's interesting. I am going to put Azor right here, and I'm just going to wait for the rest to see how easy they're dying. So I'm really not concerned that it's a big threat initially. This is 1x, oh 2x, bro. Let's just let them play and just see what we get. So, running through, this is the cakewalk part, of course. The boss rush comes up next. But I'm telling y'all, I do hope that Azor actually does help here. I built him for a mediocre amount of damage. Not nothing to write home about, but don't you love a defender that can kill stuff? Even though he's doing physical damage. And I'm saving Aatrox and Cerberus for the actual big parts coming. I'm going to use them more as a saving moment whenever it gets crazy. So I'm really not going to put them in until I'm like, oh crap, looks like we're going to get overrun. Wow, those graphics look terrible. Wow, look at that money saved on those graphics. Okay, boss rush time. I'll start with this. Let's just see what we're working with here. It's pretty simple, straightforward right now. I'm gonna mix it up, let Azor do his damage because he's a very simple enemies. He's great. Look at these AoE hits he's doing here. Can you see him? Oh, he's hitting to the side. That's interesting. Actually, they're hitting that wall pretty freaking fast. Let me get Cerberus involved in there. And I'll throw Azor. Oh my gosh, they're actually way more than I thought they were. Okay. Sweet Lord. That was looking bad. Oh yeah, that looks crazy. But in there, if you haven't noticed, Azor is actually doing decent damage. Not amazing. Yeah, wow, that is a lot faster content than I thought it was. Let's try it again. Oh, B+. Okay. That's not as impressive as I wanted it to be. I want to get that bad boy in at least like the A+ or S, double S. Okay, so this is good. I do know that it is champ specific. Top 24%, that's neat. I want to get in the top 5. I get in the top 5, I'm good. I'm letting the auto start it off because that first part is very slow. Not doing any subs yet. That first part is sluggishly slow. Once we get close towards the bottom of his health, then I'm going to switch over and get Cerberus in there early because I did not realize that many enemies are coming. But I'm surprised in Azor. He did decent. He's a brawler. His ult allows him to hit a 9 range of enemies in front of him. That's a big area for damage. I wish they would have shown that somewhere in the stats when you were picking them. You know, like in your collection. All right, here's a good time to put Cerberus in there. Let's get this damage going early, and this time I'm not going to get caught off guard. I'm also going to put Aatrox in there and let these guys do their thing. There's a little more sustainability than last time. Oh, I didn't get to pop his ult. So they're violent. That damage was skyrocketing. Faster right here. Because they're still just dying. But as you can see, it still starts to get very busy very fast. But I do like, if you noticed, pay close attention to I'm getting from, what is her name? The chick with the wings, Zillatu. Every time Zillatu gets a kill, she adds a second back to her ult, which is neat. Yeah, they are kicking my behind right now. That's insane. Look at that, Cerberus is back a little too late. If I popped this ult, it would have been a little bit of a difference there. You notice how bad that got. So what I'm gonna do in this part is that was worse. Wait, was that worse? It was B or B+. I don't know. One more go. I gotta do it one more time. So I like that this content is challenging. I can rock with that. Yeah, upload my data of me doing mid 3 times straight. So what would I do to improve this team? First things first, I would get more AoE damage. These aren't all easily attainable champs. Aatrox isn't that hard to get. You get Abomination and Volca for free. I just like Zillatu because I didn't have a Valkyra. I don't have the chick with the blaze. I really can't remember her name. I really can't remember her name. It's like the 3rd time I thought of it. And that every time she gets a kill, she gets ult back, so she's able to hit priority champions. But there are enemies. There are so many enemies to hit. There's so many enemies to hit. You can't use any pedestal champions. So you have to use champions that are good on the ground. I would use Chaos, but I'm very concerned with how fast they die. So I would have to have a faction Lord for that, or I would be taking a big L. What options do I have that I think would be great? So for this game mode, I want champions that 1 can either hold the line or 2 can do pretty decent damage. So champions that I would say are really good options to invest in. And people are going to laugh because they're like, oh, those aren't the meta champions. Shut up, bro. Not everybody has meta champions across the entire account. But for every player, you have champions like these. These are good options to go for. Option number 1, if you need to cut down those masses, Scorch. Scorch, because every one of Scorch's attacks are AoE damage. And they go a pretty decent range. So you can put him on the back row and he can hit the enemies that you need him to hit. That's 2 tiles. Look at skills. Increases attack by 30% for 25 seconds. That's wonderful. And look at that. Physical damage is taken is down by 30%. Is it 30? Yeah. I should just be looking at my screen, not my phone. One is like 3x5 and one is 27. But he would actually be a solid option for this. He's not a meta champion, but he's a great option to continue consistent damage, to have continually consistent damage going. And it also deals, AoE damage to multiple enemies 3 times, each time dealing 95% damage. That's his regular attack. Increase the attack percentage by 30% for 25 seconds. That can go up to, I think it's 50%, and it costs 700 instead of 800. It starts at 20% increase, and it goes to 50. And Awaken, you take less damage, which I wouldn't be too concerned about in this, because he's going to be behind the wall. We're not even concerned about him taking damage. Burning increases attack in battle by 16%. So this is originally, I think it was 10, yeah, and then it goes to 20%. The one thing that still confuses me about this guy is, why does he not apply burning? Unless that's in his Awaken skills. That's good. Attack 10% for 3 seconds. Attack 10% for 3 seconds when hitting more than 2 enemies simultaneously. He's doing that the entire time, so you're always getting that attack bonus. Good things to think about. Penetration is going to help against these guys. Not a whole lot, but it is useful. Damage increased by 10% against enemies not blocked by this unit. He's not blocking anybody, he's behind the wall. So that's already another 20% that's really good to think about when you want to say, hey, what champs do I have to fill those gaps? If I don't have the amazing legendaries, what are the epics that are really good options that can work here? Now, I personally think that she will be more of a last resort champion, mainly because she does single target hits. Her ultimate, though, is something to take a look at. Increases attack speed by 70. Each attack deals 280% AoE damage to enemies in range. This effect lasts for 20 seconds. And I knocked that down to 200 less than skill cost. Damage multiplier went up by 40%, so it was originally 240%. And the duration is 5 seconds longer. It used to just be 15 seconds. Here's why I say that is also useful. 2 reasons. First one, you see this right here. That doesn't look like much, right? That's not very far range. If she gets Awakened, on Awaken 1, her attack range increases 1 more. It does not show up in your stats. It only shows up in game. You'll see that she can reach even further. So she can also be an option behind the wall that can do AoE smash hits on enemies on the gate. So that's a good option. I would typically recommend using her while you have champions like a Cerberus or an Aatrox getting ready to come back. She is not a long sustaining solution. She's just a great option if you don't have the meta champions. And that is aboard our death. I'm gonna tell you why. Our death has a mean AoE attack, and it does considerable damage even though he's not a meta champion. His skills. This is not a lot, but it deals 105% damage to 3 enemies. He is not an insane damage dealer, but I'm gonna tell you 2 things you keep in mind here. 1, that says 3 enemies. 2, that is a magic attack, which means it's going to have additional damage done to the majority of the enemies in this game mode. Add it on. It maxes out to 110. Each basic attack launch has a 20% chance of restoring 3% of his HP. So here's why I say that he's a really good option. He is I'm gonna say middle ground Cerberus. He's not a poor man's Cerberus, because that's gonna be Aatrox, which is still useful. But he's a middle ground Cerberus because he has much more sustainability. Now check this out. The ability that he has is called Realm of Curse. Activates Realm of Curse. Additionally, this hero becomes unable to perform basic attacks, but his max HP is increased by 60% and it lasts for 8 seconds. This ability deals damage equal to 3% of his HP to enemies in range per second. But you can drop the skill cost, you can increase the initial rage around that, your HP so you can go even higher, and you can really make this a really awesome option in combat. Damage dealt with Realm Codes increases by 20% against enemies with less than 50% HP. So the good thing about this is it's not like a Vienna option, but it's great because he punishes champions that have enemies that have lower health. Inflict stun on enemies when they enter Realm of Curse for the first time. That is going to be wonderful for this content. That is a 2-second stun. So if you want to save yourself, you want to save your bacon in this game mode, put him in there, pop his ult, stun all the enemies for 2 seconds, and then use an amazing AoE attack that can flush a whole bunch of them or can help you get those numbers cut down. And then he's going to continue to do this giant AoE attack hit that does a pretty decent amount of damage too. So if he's not getting the kills, he's softening them up for more of your other champs that can get kills, especially if they get benefits for getting kills. Now those are on your Awaken 3 and 5. So it's great to have. Not amazing, but great to have. Artifacts for him. So this is what I like about him. So I do think the Bloodlust Phylactery, that's what it is today. I do believe that that's a good option. Since he is a defender, I can't give him the other one that I still think is great, and that's the one where you heal as you do your damage. Now, I think this is another one too. This is an iffy artifact to use on him, because it's essentially probably going every 10 seconds, unless wait a second. I wonder if it's every 3 point something second, because he's hitting 3 enemies at a time. This is me thinking in my head. Let's get back to business. I'm going to build Ardeth, but let me explore 1 or 2 more options for you guys. I do wonder, I don't think he does. No, Cyclone's just not going to get any play here. Sorry guys, I was thinking about it. It's just not occurring. If he did decent AoE damage, I would consider him. I think this guy would be really good if he did AoE damage. He does not do a bunch of AoE damage I can see. Extends attack range and allows each attack to target 1 more enemy. So that's 3 enemies. 30% chance to land a heavy slash damage. Yeah, I mean, but it's still mostly single target. I do like that it applies curse to him, but it's kind of too little for what we need in this fight. We need a whole lot more going. So I'm going to actually build Ardeth out and try him in this content. Those are the options from the champs that I have that I think are usable options in this content. So funny enough, Scorch and Ardeth are going to be really top options I think to consider. Of course, Wrath too. Let's be real. Wrath is a lord. Wrath gives you an increase in attack speed, which is what you need because you need to hit more enemies faster. So if you want to go the Nightmare route, the more you add, the better your stuff is going to get, the more hits you can land. Your heals do go down by 20%. I don't know if that matters as much in this content, but I do know that your initial group can die off fairly quick if they get overwhelmed. That's probably when it gets to like the B range that I was in, or the A and the S, where you start to send tankier enemies that deal a little bit more damage. So this ultimate, I love the best thing about this ultimate for this game mode is just auto cast. That's what matters the most. Heavy blow is going to be great because increases damage by 30% for 30 seconds. That's great. Additionally, every 3 attack launches triggers an extra attack to up to 5 enemy units in range, dealing 115% damage. Why is that wonderful for him? I'll tell you why. There's an in-game gear set. I have not put it on him yet, but I can find a piece. This would be wonderful on him for this game mode, because also as you awaken him, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's Awaken 5. Yeah, when he does heavy blow, he gets healed as he does his damage. So he can get heals, he can do amazing damage, and you could toss another artifact in there, get him another a chance to do more hits. I think this is a really good option for him. There's Lego ones that are good, but it's a really good option for him. I have not gotten him Awakened to 5 yet. I know. But I'm one of those guys that's like, if I burn those things on him, burn those soul stones on him, I can't use them on other champions, and I keep thinking I have a good chance of getting him. I think I'm going to go ahead and do it because I do like the fact that he can auto heal. But him being able to tear through those enemies would be great, because if he could do 50% more damage while he's out there and he's a lord, he's giving you guys benefits across the board, really, really good option I say to explore. And everybody has them. There's no way that you don't have them unless you really crunch the wrong champs. So I'm going to give these guys a shot. I'll give you guys a report on how this turns out. Hopefully it's not trash. Hopefully it's great. And I'll get back with you guys in a few minutes. Y'all enjoy.
Everlong demands their suffering.